Hi, Vanidhi.
We have
How are you doing?
Vanidhi as well who joined.
A very happy World Environment Day to you and to everyone who's already there on the call right now. Good to see Sudarshan. Hi, Sudarshan.
Let's go ahead, Probal, we can go ahead.
Okay, so a very good evening to all of you who's already on the call. We truly appreciate the time taken out by each one of you to be a part of the launch of the Sustainable Guide today on World Environment Day. I would like to start with a quote of Mahatma Gandhi, a quote which is relevant to the time that we are all going through and perhaps will help us introspect how we should be leading our life. And the quote goes, "The world has enough for all our needs, but not greed." If all of us can pledge to make that small choice for change, together we can create a safer, cleaner, and a greener planet for tomorrow and also for our future generations. I would like to now introduce my co-host for the evening at the wonderful, beautiful Pauline Laravor. Did I get it right, Pauline? So,
Absolutely smashed it.
so thank you so much. And just a small introduction about Pauline. Pauline hails from Paris, where she has spent the first 25 years of her life. She holds a master degree in sustainability and social innovation from HEC Paris and has developed her expertise in strategy, consulting, social entrepreneurship, and impact assessment, especially as the co-founder of nonprofit AQWA, which supports social enterprises and NGOs through social impact assessment studies. In 2019, Pauline moved to Kolkata, where she joined Techno India Group as a sustainability director. As such, she is striving to create more learning and professional opportunities for students in the sustainability sector, especially through her network-based venture, which is called the Y East. Overall, Pauline has developed expertise and passion for building communities of organizations towards sustainability, being notably associated with the following community-based ventures: Y East, Youth for Sustainability India Alliance, and Learning Planet. Also, a little introduction about Y East. Y East is Eastern India's only aggregating platform for SDG-focused stakeholders in East and Northeast India. Y East currently aggregates 200 plus professional organizations, have organized or supported around 100 programs, and have positively impacted more than 12,000 individuals since its inception in 2019. Its main activities focus on four pillars: networking, education, and awareness, projects and campaigns, and research and impact studies. So over to you, Pauline.
Thank you, Probal, for the lovely introduction. And it has been a pleasure working with Probal, who is the founder, one of the co-founders of TurnItGreen. And Wise and TurnItGreen have, I think, over the past weeks, the past few weeks, been somehow working on this, guide and making it happen on time for the World Environment Day today, 5th of June. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce my co-moderator of the day, Probal. Probal is a management professional with more than 18 years of experience in strategic management and business development. He worked for a lot of different MNCs such as Diageo, Tata AIG, Aviva Life, Sahara Prime City. Is there something that you haven't done, Probal? HSBC. Social entrepreneur, serial investor, and a management consultant. Now, Probal takes a serious interest in environmental pollution and climate change, and that gave birth to TurnItGreen in 2019. His concern for environmental issues ignited a deep desire to bring about change in our present society that helped him form TurnItGreen along with his co-founders, Sudarshan and Lata, whom we have today. Of course, we'll introduce them a bit later during this call. He is also a solo traveler, fitness enthusiast, and Buddhist practitioner. About TurnItGreen. It was founded in 2019 with the sole objective of creating a community platform for individuals, organizations, NGOs, and helping early stage organizations working on environment, sustainability, and various other developmental programs related to zero waste lifestyle, fashion for development, art for climate, and reducing single-use plastics. Overall, we have very aligned missions, and it's been a pleasure for WISE to work with TurnItGreen in association with Techno India University on this sustainable, a sustainable guide that we're going to launch with all of you together on this platform today. Before we welcome our series of speakers today, 8 wonderful speakers will address key topics today on the occasion of World Environment Day. Before we do that, we wanted to show you the guide that we're launching today. So the guide will help all of you as readers to start your journey about sustainability and how you can include more responsible behaviors and thoughts and habits into our daily lives. It is something that sometimes is difficult to wrap your minds around. It's difficult to know where to start. It's difficult to understand the very big scope of it. And so this guide, which is quite extensive, will help you go through this particular journey. So I'm going to share with you a little sneak peek about what it looks like. If I can ask one of my colleagues, maybe Enakshi, if you're around, to actually share this link with everyone, that would be great. bit.ly/the sustainable guide. You just need to type it in. It's also available through the WISE website if you'd like. And then you will find this guide, which has been wonderfully designed. I want to highlight on this, wonderfully designed by Romit Sen with the help of ArcFrame, who also helped us with editing the videos that you will find throughout the guide. So Romit, thank you so much for this beautifully designed work and guide. You will see, especially through the agenda, that we have designed a 12-step journey for you to get going with the topic, from awakening and awareness to fashion, to menstruation, to food, to organic waste, so that you have kind of an overview of what all is possible in your daily life for you to get going. For each and every of the sections, I hope I will be able to show you this. Yes. So for example, if we take the awakening section, which is the first one, which kind of represents the time when you wake up in the morning, you have, for most of the sections, a video. We have here Mr. Debashish Sen, who is sharing his expertise on this, which you can watch. And then you have one page dedicated to facts and figures. If you click on them, all of them are hyperlinked to the source of the fact or figure. So you can check the source. And then just after the facts and figures, you have action steps, right? Action steps which you can follow that is related to the topic of the particular section. And then at the bottom, you have a series of logos for each and every of the 12 sections, which are hyperlinked to the websites of these organizations. And these organizations are very concretely, very tangibly working in the space, and don't hesitate to reach out to them if you want to take your journey of sustainability forward. So I will let you, maybe after this call, after this session, dive into this wonderful guide at your own pace, at your own time. But I really wanted to thank all of you for sharing the launch with us today, and thank all of the partners that has made it possible. Thank you so much. Probal, would you like to add anything to this quick presentation? You're on mute, Probal.
So thank you so much, Pauline. And indeed, some fantastic, design work by Romit, and incredible videos, which has been edited by ArcFrame. And just for the knowledge of all our viewers who are on the call today, I would just like to share a very small story. What you see as an idea today was an afterthought of an event which we were supposed to organize in the month of May. But as luck would have it, and because of the pandemic, we could not organize that event. But what happened thereafter was that we had a particular idea and a concept in mind, and we just latched on to the concept. We were very confident, we were extremely ambitious and committed that this is something which we wanted to come out with on World Environment Day. And thanks to the entire team of Y East, TurnItGreen, Romit, ArcFrame, the innumerable number of hours that has gone in terms of coordination, the amount of research work, and we did not even compromise on a single piece of detailing. And what you see today is the journey that we have covered in less than 42 days, and we are being able to share and launch the sustainable guide to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Probal. And before handing the mic back to you, I'm just going to give you an overview of what's going to happen in the next 50 minutes that we're going to spend together. We have 8 wonderful speakers with us. Probal and I, for each of them, will present them, of course, and we'll ask them a key question which each of us will be invited to answer in around 4 or 5 minutes each. We'll have a couple of few surprises on the way as well. In the meantime, during the session, do not hesitate to note down or in the Q&A or the chat a couple of questions that you may have, which we will take at the end of the section. Probal, over to you for the first guest. Do we have Mr. Debashish Sen around?
Yes. So finally, the hour that we have been waiting for, the incredible speakers that we have today with us. But even before I go ahead to introduce our first guest for the evening, he's a man, he's a visionary, a reservoir of knowledge, the most humble civil servant that one can ever come across, and a person who would rarely say no to help people with a cause. Allow me to introduce Mr. Debashish Sen, the Managing Director, and am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So Chairman and Managing Director of HITCO West Bengal. Just a small introduction about Mr. Sen. Mr. Sen joined the IAS in 1985. He graduated from Presidency College, Kolkata, and got his post-MSc diploma from Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics. He got his diploma in public administration from ENA, France. He has been trained at the JFK School, Harvard University, and IMF Institute, Washington, DC, USA. Mr. Sen has served in various capacities, including district magistrate for more than 5 years and a chief electoral office for 5 years. He is presently posted as the additional chief secretary to the government of West Bengal and also the chairman managing director of HITCO, which is a government company that is developing Newtown, Kolkata. He's a complete visionary, as I stated earlier, and has transformed Rajarhat into a world-class, state-of-the-art township, which can easily claim to be a model city for others to follow. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us today for the launch of the Sustainable Guide. And I'm always grateful to you for all the support and the cooperation that we get from you. So just your initial thoughts on the Sustainable Guide, and then we will ask the questions.
Well, it's been a marvelous thing, Probal, and great meeting you, Pauline, and hearing you as always, very briefly pointing out and laying down the contours that don't speak more than 4 minutes or you'll be slashed.
That's exactly what I'm going to do, indeed.
I know. We have worked together.
I'm very sure that you will be completing it within 5 minutes also, because that's also your expertise.
My only confusion is that 5 minutes, does it include the questions or my introductory thing? I'm not very sure, but I don't know. I'll be very sharp to start with. A very great congratulations to the entire team for doing it in this fashion. Of course, I've seen the booklet and it just takes you to the different facets of life where you can contribute to the environment. That is where it all starts. Let's start today, World Environment Day. Let's start now. And let's start by yourself. I think these are the 3 key messages that the whole team is trying to get across. Well,
Absolutely.
big people will do big things, governments will do their big things, but you as a person must contribute your bit. And how you can do that has never been explained so well that this compilation has been done. So, my congratulations to all of you.
Okay. So, sir,
Thank you
on
so much.
behalf of our audience, we have a few questions for you. And the first question is that considering the global warming and the climate change, which is a reality today, what to you should be the three most important aspects to consider while working on any master planning or town planning for any smart city?
This sounds to be more like an assembly question, start assembly question, that you pose to the MPs and MLAs. It's so complicated with many facets, but I'll try to take the essence of it. Years ago, Mr. Zivago was the country head of India of the World Bank, and he had come to Kolkata, and we met. And he said, Mr. Sen, can you tell me why all Indian cities are chapati cities? I said, what do you mean by chapati cities? He said, it's flat. It's all one story, two story. Look at Singapore, look at New York, look at the burgeoning other cities. They're so tall structures. So one lesson after a lot of hearing, I can't really get into all the facets. I think as a city planner, what modern way of our sustainable development means is to have a less footprint on the earth, have a less footprint of the earth, go for tall buildings, forget whatever they taught you at the School of Planning and Architecture, because these are just hand-me-downs. Believe me, it's better to have a vertical city than a horizontal spread and sprawl. So one thing that I always look at when planning a new township, which we are doing in a lot of places, is it densified enough? Is it occupying the least amount of earth surface to accommodate X number of persons in each square meter? The other thing that we look at is how far does the person have to go to get his daily necessities, to get his student to the school, to get to his workplace. So we are thinking of a 15-minute township. So within 15 minutes of walking or cycling, you get to your neighborhood shop, you get to the shopping mall, you get to the market, you get to the school, and dare say you get to your office as well for doing a job. So this cyclability of a township in small zones, gone are those days of the earlier years where the Dalhousie, for example, Bibi Dibag is the office para, the Salt Lake, for example, is the housing para, and when the one slept, the other gets out. This is a waste of time, energy, and transportation. So walk to work or bicycle to work is another thing that we look at in doing a modern township these days. And the last thing that I will say, since you mentioned three, is that I travel in a very often, my standby, I won't lie, I often travel in an electric vehicle, E2O, and this Mahindra's one. And I'm very comfortable while my colleagues are having Honda City and SUVs and what have you, the ultra modern gadget with a huge macho feeling. I am very comfortable in my small, tiny electric vehicle. But what I had was what is known as the charge anxiety. I will go to Novanno from Salt Lake where I stay and come back. Will the charge endure? And therefore, in a new city, what we are doing, we are solving the chicken and egg problem. There aren't enough electric vehicles, so chargers are not there. The
Right.
chargers are not there because nobody is demanding it. So what we are doing now in any modern city, including Newtown, Smart City, Green City, what we are doing is to plant, irrespective of the demand, 35 electric vehicle charging stations we have put around the city. Whether anybody is using or not, we don't care. We know that one day it will be necessary for preserving the Earth's atmosphere, and therefore we are planning ahead of demand, and this is what we look at in a smart city.
So thank you so much, sir. And I guess if I were to sum up what you exactly said, that if we want to see the change, I think we'll have to be the change first. So
Yeah,
until and
that's right.
unless we take the ownership and the responsibility Looking up to our neighbors is going to not going to solve the problem. So we'll have to be the change bearers ourselves. And once we change, I'm sure the others will change too. So thank you so much for your time and for being a part of the Sustainable Guide. And we look forward for your support and patronage as always.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, sir. So before now I move on to our second special guest. Although I have not had the good fortune of meeting her personally, but I would personally like to thank Mrs. Roy Chaudhary on behalf of Y East and Turn It Green for having taken the time out from your busy schedule and being a part of our launch today for the Sustainable Guide. I would also like to thank Techno India Group for coming forward and associating with us as the knowledge partner. So, just to give a quick introduction about Mrs. Roy Chaudhary, Professor Manoshi Roy Chaudhary, as the co-chairman of Techno India Group, has taken on the sole responsibility of developing Techno India schools. In 20 years, she single-handedly gave birth to almost 20 schools across West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh. A woman of substance, power, and positivity. Professor Roy Chaudhary is the guardian of the group's core values and educational quality. To combat the current crisis, she is currently involved with a medical unit, Techno India Dama Hospital, Kolkata, and has also launched Techno Supports, which hosts Monoshij, a 24 by 7 counseling service to combat stress, anxiety, and depression. She is also the current chairperson in education of BNCCI and a recipient of various awards and accolades for her pioneering work on education and entrepreneurship. The most recent being from Mother Teresa International. So thank you so much, Mrs. Roy Chaudhary, for being a part of us today. And even before we proceed, I would just like to hear, your feedback about the Sustainable Guide.
So it's a very good evening. Feeling really excited about what I saw and what I came to know about this sustainable guide. First, I would say the color green, it is full of energy. Green always has life with it and the renewal process. So itself, this guide has these qualities of green, which makes it so fresh and a very happy environment day, perfect day when we should go for such a launch. All the best to you, the total team, Pauline and Pranav, so that we can make the people aware of what is required in these days.
Thank you so much. So we're not going to leave you without a question because that is customary, and I'm going to ask you the question on behalf of the team. So we understand, madam, that Techno India is the largest chain of educational institutes today across West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh. So how can an important and sensitive topic of sustainability be incorporated into mainstream curriculum to create better awareness among students who will be the future torch bearers of our society?
Um, it's really important. I should start with the first line as it is really important at this stage when we have already faced 1.5 years of COVID experiences that the Mother Earth needs attention, needs affection, and needs love. And I feel many universities have already thought of the importance of such a subject being included in their mainstream courses. So why not? Uh, because when uh, an environment is unsustainable, that is where you get pollution, that is where you get the uh, waste oceans which are to be managed. So why not, when students are already being interested about courses like engineering, maybe management, why not again sustainability, to let the environment be healthy, not only for them, but the next generation, and hand over a greener and healthier environment for the younger generation. That is again our responsibility, and our responsibility is to make the next generation aware of the importance of taking care of the environment. In many ways have we to do it for a cleaner and better world to be faced in future.
That was really, really insightful, Mrs. Charai Chaudhary. And let me tell you that we have some really, really ambitious plans about the sustainability guide. We do not want to only restrict it to being an e-document. As soon as the pandemic gets over, Y East and Turn It Green basically will come out with a complete rollover plan as to how we can reach out to more institutes and educate more students across universities, because this is completely free of cost. And I'm sure this possibly can change the way we think about our environment today. So once again, I would like to thank you for your time, for your contribution, and for being with us for the launch of our sustainable guide. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pauline.
Thank you, Mr. Devashish Sen. Thank you, Mrs. Manushiro Chaudhary, for your wonderful support. And now we're moving on to our third special guest, who probably doesn't need any introduction, but I will still take 1 minute to introduce her. We're talking about Bibi Russell, of course. Born in Chittagong, Bibi Russell earned a graduate degree in fashion from London College of Fashion in 1975. Then she worked as a model for different magazines, including Vogue, Cosmopolitan, and Harper's Bazaar, as well as in fashion shows until 1994, working with Yves Saint Laurent, Kenzo, Karl Lagerfeld, and Giorgio Armani, among others. Returning to Bangladesh in 1994, BBD opened a fashion house named Bibi Productions, which fused indigenous Bengali cultural elements into her design. Her company has till date employed more than 60,000 weavers in rural Bangladesh. Bibi Russell was appointed UNESCO Artist for Peace in October 1999 in recognition of her unfailing commitment to the welfare of the weavers of Bangladesh and her untiring devotion to the promotion of traditional crafts. Through her company, Bibi Productions, she launched the Fashion for Development concept altogether, which gives craftspeople the opportunity to enhance their skills, to achieve economic survival, and to build a prosperous future. In her capacity as a UNESCO Artist for Peace, she contributes to a numerous number of projects and activities in countries such as Uzbekistan, aiming to support handicrafts masters. In October 2017, she organized in London a fashion show entitled Survivor's Runway, dedicated to all women and girls who live in fear of gender-based violence. I'm sure, BBD, it's very little to say about everything else that you've done, but it gives a scope of understanding to all of our audience members here who may not know about all of your work, which is absolutely amazing. Just like the other two special guests, we'd love to hear your thoughts, a couple of thoughts on the sustainable guide that we are launching today. BBD, over to you. Could you unmute yourself? We can't hear you. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Pauline. I'm much touched. I'm not even first step on the ladder, But anyway, thank you so much for inviting me in a very special day, World Environment Day. But for me, every day is Environment Day. We should respect for nature comes with understanding. Time for every individual to be aware of their responsibilities and action to protect planet. And I feel so honored that I am part of this sustainable guide launch, because everything I do is sustainable. And that people ask me how did you learn this? My childhood, my growing up is in Bangladesh. I learned how to have values, not to misuse, It's from my home. I think every person's growing up, first learning start from home. I have seen my mother, how to value their thing, how to make sustainable things with the money, because she was not working. She was a housewife. So I think learning starts from home. And that's absolutely my childhood, because I grew up in Bengal, Bangladesh. Bengal is full of art, cultures, values, and all these things. So I came back to work to give my support to the craftspeople and make sure they make a sustainable livelihood, sustainable development, because every country, whether it's India, Bangladesh, or France, or anywhere, it's very important, you make sustainable. No, you make health and education is the backbone of any country. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much, PBD. I think the key message is very powerful that you just shared, is maybe we don't have really anything to learn. We just have to go back to what we already know, or at least some of us who have, families that, in the past or in their youth also were behaving already very sustainably. So maybe instead of learning, then maybe just relearning from home what already is there. Thank you so much for this. I just have a quick question for you before we move on. The impact that you've had through your career, through your professional time, is absolutely amazing. Is there any piece of advice or any insight that you would like to share with our audience on how to have such, also have and aspire to such a meaningful, impactful career? Over to you.
One advice, because I believe the young generation are the future. I did a work modeling and all this. I earn money. I put that into my work. But I told you before, I'm not even first step on the ladder. But I'm very close to the craftspeople, the village people, whether it's Bangladesh, India, or Latin America. I'm loved by them. Okay? So very important that you have to be focused. You know what you want to do. Maybe it's difficulties, but you have to come over it. And any work, you have to know first your heritage, your cultures, your values, and respect. I didn't go to Europe to learn that. I learned it from my home. Then I polished myself, matured myself. So it's so important. I came back for the people who made me have the dream. I think today it's very important. You have the dream, you have your dream, and go for it. And you will fulfill, the satisfaction is there. And it's very important, especially this time we are going through this pandemic time. Sustainability, economical budget, it's very, very, very important. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. Why is TurnItGreen, Art Day, everyone, folks, supporting this wonderful launch.
Pauline, I would just take a minute.
Please, and then you can move on to the next speaker. Go ahead. Thank you so much, BBD. Over to you, Prabal. No problem.
So I would personally like to thank BBD for being one of our biggest patrons. And TurnItGreen is truly, truly indebted to you for all the help and the cooperation that we get from you always.
Thank you.
You've been a great friend.
You
have been a great friend, guide, and mentor to me personally. And I would like to put it on record that you have been a great friend, guide, and mentor to me, in person. And the positivity and the inspiration that I get from every conversation that we have had over the last, 6 to 8 months gives us the motivation to do even better. And thank you once again for sharing your valuable experiences and inspiring us to do the work that we are also passionate about. So thank you so much, BBD. It's straight from my heart.
Thank you.
So Pauline, I guess now we are basically going to move on to the incredible list of speakers that we have for today. And I would like to start with someone who's again very, very special. And sir, I would like to say thank you to you, because I know it's 6:30. If I'm not mistaken, it might be 6 o'clock, right? In the morning. Am I right, sir?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's my honor and it's my privilege to introduce Dr. Silesh Rao. And just a small introduction about him. Dr. Silesh Rao has over 3 decades of professional experience and is the founder and the executive director of Climate Healers, a nonprofit dedicated to healing the Earth's climate. A system specialist with a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University, Dr. Rao worked on the internet communications infrastructure for 20 years after graduation. In 2006, he switched careers and became deeply immersed full time in the spiritual and the environmental crisis affecting humanity. Dr. Rao is also the author of the two famous books. The first one being the Carbon Dharma, the occupation of butterflies, and Carbon Yoga, the vegan metamorphosis, and an executive producer of 4 documentaries: The Human Experiment, which was published in 2013, Cowspiracy, the Sustainability Secret, which was again published in 2014, What the Health, published in 2017, and A Prayer for Compassion, which was in the year 2019. So with this, I would like to ask I would like to ask a question to Mr. Rao. So I have had the good fortune of going through a couple of your videos, and in one of the videos you have mentioned that there was this one particular video that you had seen of Mr. Al Gore, and from thereafter your life had transformed. So if you could share that particular experience of yours with our viewers.
Uh, Thank you so much. Yeah, I was an electrical engineer working on the internet infrastructure. And I was working on 10 gigabit Ethernet back in 2005. And I came home one day and I turned on the TV, and there was Vice President Al Gore talking about climate change. This was before his movie An Inconvenient Truth had come out.
Yeah.
And I was so shocked because he was just speaking to a bunch of activists in San Francisco, and someone had videotaped it. And I was so shocked. I told my wife, if half of what he's saying is true, I'm wasting my time. And she said, oh, if you think it's that important, why don't you study it? And I decided to look into it. And within 3 months, I told her we have to close down our company and focus on this full time. And she agreed. Fortunately, I have such a great partner. And so that's what we did. I closed down my company and I started focusing on this full time. I wrote to Mr. Gore, said, how can I help you? And I got trained by him in November of 2006.
Oh.
And so the rest is history, I've been working on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm sure it must have been an incredible journey. But what I would also like to understand from you, Mr. Rao, and of all the great work that you have done, you have also mentioned in a couple of your videos that 85% of our diet is already plant-based, and is only the remaining 15%, of which 12% is what we normally try and extract from food like meat and fish. And that's where we are trying to create a parallel ecosystem, which is definitely not beneficial to the planet. Could you please explain it in greater details for our viewers to understand what sustainability of food is all about?
Yeah, that's a great question. 85% of our food by weight is already plant-based. This is dry weight. Okay. So it comes from rice, vegetables, and grains, nuts, seeds, and so on. 12% is based on animals that we raise on land. And that includes dairy, eggs, meat put together. And 3% comes from the ocean. Okay. But if you look at how we use the earth, the 85% of our plant-based food comes from croplands and agricultural lands. It's only 12% of the land area of the planet, of which only 1/4 of the biomass we extract, we directly eat. Okay. The other 3/4 we either use for biofuels or we use to feed our animals. So to get the 12% of the animal foods, we are actually using 43% of the land area of the planet. And to get 3%
Sorry,
of the seafood,
is it 43% you said?
yeah, 43% of the land area of the planet, just for 12% of the food that we eat, which is animal foods. And for the 3% that we get from the ocean, we are literally scouring and destroying the entire ocean. So even from an economic perspective, it doesn't make any sense to consume animal products, much less than from an environmental perspective. The only reason that these enterprises are still around is because they're heavily subsidized by our governments. Okay, so all we have to do is to get that subsidy out and the whole thing will collapse. This enterprise will collapse. And then we have to find alternate employment for the people, you know. And I suggest that we need to create like a civilian rewilding corps where we help rewild the environment on all the land that gets freed up from using animals for food.
Okay, that was really something which is very insightful. And could you also share something for our viewers as far as the book of the vegan metamorphosis is concerned? Just quickly a small, maybe introduction or maybe a brief about what exactly it's all about.
Certainly. So veganism to me is the original export of India. Okay, because when I spoke to Rabbi Gabriel Cousins, who's a vegan, who's been vegan for 40 years, and I asked him, why did you go vegan? He said, because the Hindu rishis were vegan. And this is the rishis who live in the Himalayas. They're not taking cows up there, to milk them. They are all vegan to begin with. So he said, they were the ones who inspired me to go vegan. Okay, so to me, the vegan metamorphosis is actually the planet coming back into yoga. Because carbon yoga is reuniting back with the environment, with nature, making sure that what we think, what we say, and what we do are in perfect alignment. And that happens when we return back to our original nature, true nature, which is compassion for all life. And that's what the rishis were practicing and they were teaching us.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being with us and being a part of the Sustainable Launch Guide. And we will really look forward to working with you very closely in future as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Pauline, do we move on with the introduction of the Econama and the EcoBoom?
Yes, absolutely. If Sudarshan could give a quick introduction, and then we'll play this wonderful video.
So I will do the quick introduction about Sudarshan, who also happens to be one of the co-founders of TurnItGreen. He's an artistic director and choreographer, and trained in traditional dances and modern dance and jazz, as well as by based Nana Gleason, pioneer of a dynamic experimental form resulting from individual and ensemble mind-body improvisations. His innovative dance form raises sensitive contemporary issues of global concerns like HIV, consumerism, ecology, and global warming and the likes. He is also the director of Interface, Eastern India's first international dance group. He's also a writer, workshop leader, collaborator who has worked as a choreographer in the fields of fashion, film, theater, and television. Sudarshan also choreographed and presented Econama on global warming in 2016 and performed in Seattle International Dance Festival in 2017, which was recognized by UNESCO Newsroom as Asia's first dance production to represent the theme of climate change. So thank you, Sudarshan, for being on the call. And just a quick word on the sustainability guide.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking a lot that as an artist, we have used art for social messaging for a long time. But at times when we looked at the second wave of the pandemic this year, and with the grief all around, I did not know how to react as an artist, or what is the worth of an art in such a situation to give messages or console. So in that way, I feel that this is a time actually to move and execute and do some action. And that is where sustainability as a guide is something which is very, very close to my heart. And the way it is being, what I saw today is actually will give the common person, common man who doesn't know, who perhaps just knows the words, but doesn't know what to do and how to do it. And I think that will give them a real handbook to bring changes in their life and lifestyle and the way they move on in society, to make it beautiful for the next generation, for the children. I feel the biggest sufferer in the pandemic has been children.
True. So, Pauline, could we just quickly, play the video of Economa?
Absolutely. I'll request to play. It's beautiful. Sudarshan, thank you so much. Could you give just maybe a couple of words about this performance and how it relates to today's topic?
Yeah, it is actually, we premiered this in 2016, thinking or ideating it to be a futuristic production of the last surviving community, of holding on to their rituals and holding on to their gods who are breathless, who have been struck by harsh storms, who are dying, and where the pregnant mothers are struggling to give birth to child, and how the last surviving community is trying to caress the mother earth, the womb of the earth, to survive. And we never knew that this futuristic production actually will come true in 4 years. So that is what Economa was all about.
Great.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. Probal, would you like to introduce Lata now or at the
Yes. So I would also take the opportunity to introduce my second co-founder, person who's very, very dear to me, very close to me, and we work very closely, and she's none other than Latadi. We call her Lata Bhatia. She's also the first zero waste lady from Eastern India, and she's one of those people who actually walk the talk. She leads a completely zero waste lifestyle and leads by example. So Latadi, if you could share a few words of if you could just share a few words of wisdom with us, and how you feel about the sustainable guide.
Thank you, Prabal. Thank you, Pauline. I mean, I can't believe the D-Day is here today, and we are actually participating in the launch of the Sustainable Guide. It has been a beautiful journey, or to bring this guide, to put this guide together, and all of our hard work has actually come into a beautiful, the whole product is that we are launching today is, I mean, it's our product and I'm boasting about it, but I really from my heart believe that what has come out is a beautiful piece of art,
Sorry.
I would say. And I hope people do appreciate it. I'm sure people will appreciate it. And the journey has been really beautiful. I'm sure the people will enjoy reading it and take the ideas that have been put into the guide and actually walk the talk. Like Prabal is saying, I walk the talk. I try and live the life that I promote in society. It's not something that I talk about and I don't practice. I never try to practice something that I don't practice. I don't like to promote things that I don't practice. So it's been a journey since 2016 for me to live a zero waste life and a minimalist life, and it's been a very spiritual journey for me, and it's been a very beautiful journey for me, and I have seen the change that my journey has made to people around me as well. So that has been very, very.
Thank you so much, Lata. Thank you so much. Now we quickly move on to our next speaker. Again, I had the good fortune to work with her once, a couple of months back, when we were doing a campaign called the Change the You in You. And I take the pleasure for introducing the queen of composting. That's what she's popularly known as. And her name is Vani Murthy, and I will take the opportunity, ma'am, to give a small introduction. Vani Murthy, popularly known as the Queen of Compost, is a pioneer in home composting, terrace gardening, and biocleansers. Vani has been promoting the idea of a Swachh Graha, a home that generates minimum garbage, for more than a decade now. She has passionately tested every home composting method available. Her knowledge on recycling kitchen waste into compost and using it to grow herbs, flowers, fruits, and vegetables is held in high esteem. Her YouTube videos on home composting have lakhs and lakhs of viewers. So welcome to the webinar, Mrs. Murthy, and a quick few words about composting, because we have almost close to about 300 participants and they would like to know what home composting is all about.
Thank you, Prabal. And of course, Lata, I have been in association with her for quite some time. She came and met me in Bangalore. And first of all, congratulations on this launch of this guide. It's the need of the hour, because most people don't know where to start, how to start. It's very overwhelming when they start looking at people who talk a lot about sustainability. So they just shut their doors. They don't want it to deal with it because it's too large, too vast, where to start. So a guide will definitely be very helpful. And of course, composting, I think, could be one big action every day to help reverse this climate change, because 60% of what we generate is from our kitchen. It is the waste that can be composted. It is great resource that's getting lost once it leaves our home. And if we could hold it back and actually convert it into this magical compost. I always think compost is so magical because there's so much of life that gets made in this compost, and it is a living soil that is actually needed to grow our food, especially when agriculture is completely gone the chemical way. We need to put back organic matter into soil. And very quickly, what is composting? It's breakdown of your organic matter, and it is a process. There is a learning curve. It's an experiential learning. So you just have to dive into it and experiment with it. And at one point of time, you get a hang of it. And Lata would swear by it, because once you compost, I think you're the happiest person, because you know that you have saved great resources and you learn what real food is. Because even with the smallest spaces, when you grow something or with the compost that you make, I think that gives you a huge window of opportunity to keep yourself healthy, to make choices about the kind of food that you want to eat, where do you want to store it, who is the person who's growing your food, are there chemicals in that? So I think it's the whole journey. You just evolve to be a better human on this planet.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I must say, the energy that you had was infectious.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being with us. Over to you, Pauline.
Thank you so much, Prabhat. Thank you so much, Vanidi. We have another 3 speakers with us tonight. I can't believe the number of beautiful and wonderful speakers inspiring us tonight. This is a privilege for me to introduce one of my very dear friends, Sushil. Can you hear us, Sushil?
Yes. Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
Welcome, Sushil. Welcome, Sushil.
Hi.
So good to see you. It happens that Sushil and I were classmates at HEC a few years ago. So Sushil is therefore a dear friend of mine, of course. So just a little bit of introduction, and then I have a question for you, Sushil, as for the other speakers. Sushil is the founder of the Sun Pedal Ride and has earned recognition in the Guinness and Limca books of world records for the longest journey on a solar-powered electric bike and bicycle. I believe this one was for the journey that you had, the first one that you had in India, throughout India, Sushil, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And then you had such trips in France, in California, and some other places. Where else?
One in Iceland and one in India again on a solar-powered tuk-tuk or an auto rickshaw.
True. So Sushil aims, as you might have understood from now on, to create awareness about solar energy, sustainable mobility, and healthy living through the Sun Pedal Ride project. He actually had covered 7,424 kilometers distance that took place over 79 days from May to July 2016 in India on this solar-powered electric bike, and gone to similar trips in different regions such as France and California, as just mentioned. The mission behind these rides was to spread awareness, promote sustainable mobility via long-distance, zero-emission journeys, and inspire cities to follow suit all over the world. So based on this, Sushil, you've traveled miles and miles over the world to raise awareness. And I was curious to know how you managed to raise awareness on this very specific issue and to convince people to switch to more responsible energy sources. And could you give the audience maybe a pitch of that, a sample of that, to also encourage them to follow suit? Over to you.
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much, Pauline, for inviting me, and also Prabal. Congratulations on the launch of this guide. It looks really nice. I had a glance at it, and it basically breaks down to the daily life, which is what is necessary. It's very simple to understand as well. So yeah, I have done a few journeys, as Pauline mentioned, and the idea of doing these kind of journeys on new technologies. So this is solar energy, this is electric mobility. So the idea is to showcase these technologies to people via doing these journeys. And only when people experience them, see them, try out these vehicles, drive them, only then they'll appreciate, the advantages of these technologies. So the idea was, to give a lot of test drives to raise awareness by sharing the actual data of how the vehicle performs, what are the benefits in terms of even costs associated with such kind of newer technologies, be it solar energy or be it electric mobility. So of course, there are a lot of misconceptions today that people have about these newer technologies, which of course we need for sustainability. But the idea of doing these journeys is to put it out there, put the data out there, and actually let people experience it. So experiential learning, as somebody mentioned recently. So that is a big part of these journeys. And to give an audience today a small example of what they can do in their life. So there's a small principle called the AMG Principle. So energy is kind of the core of sustainability, right? So if you want to actually understand how much energy you consume in your daily life, you have to really follow this simple principle called AMG. A is for avoid. So you have to first understand how much energy you consume and then try to avoid as much as possible as a first step. Second is M, minimize. So once you know how much you avoid energy, you have to understand where all can you minimize energy. For example, if you use another appliance which it's more energy efficient, like a 4-star AC or a DC powered fan, for example. And these are all available in the market. So these are choices that you make at an individual level. So after that, the third step is generate. So once you avoid energy, then you minimize energy, and then you generate what is not what you cannot minimize at all, right? So that is the third step. So generate energy that is using renewable energy sources like solar energy. So this is very basic that everyone can relate to, and uh, one example is you can look at your electricity bill wherever you stay, in any establishment, a home, an office. Look at how many units you consume. That will give you a first step of awareness of how much electricity or energy you consume, and then you can start from there. Use the AMG principle, and if you don't do AMG, there'll be OMG. Oh my God! So that's one of our professors used to say that, so that's why it just stuck in me. So yeah, that is something which I wanted to share with all of you today. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Sushil. It's really easy to remember. So thank you so much for this Nemo technique. I'm struck by how simple what you are sharing seems to be. It seems that to start your journey, you just need to start with very little step of just checking what kind of environmental footprint or what kind of energy consumption you have, which is the basic of action taking. So thank you, Sushil, for making it so simple to remember and to take the first step for everyone. Thank you so much, Sushil.
Thank
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sushil.
Moving on to our next speaker, I will call on stage Alakshi Tomar. I hope you can hear us, and we will be able to hear you, Alakshi. I know you are in Goa under heavy rains, apparently, but can you hear me?
Yes, the rains have died down, so I can hear you clearly now.
Brilliant. Hi, Alakshi. Good to see you. Good to see you. So just a brief introduction about Alakshi. She is the co-founder of positive and green menstruation startup TrueCup. Some of you must have heard about it already. Working across South Asia, so in India and other countries, of course, promoting positive and sustainable menstruation with the objective of inclusion. Working closely at the intersection of gender, education, sexual and reproductive health, she is a certified trainer, impacting menstruating women to break taboos surrounding menstruation across India and Singapore especially. Alakshi is an entrepreneur who champions sustainable menstruation and sustainable menstrual products through the cup, of course, to create inclusion and opportunities for women. Alakshi, I have a question for you. And I hope the message will get through the audience today. I'm one of the one of the increasing number of people who are convinced about the benefits of the menstrual cup. You in business and life overall are a true defendant of the menstrual cup. What was your own journey of adopting it yourself? And what would you like to tell the audience to encourage them to switch as well? Over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Pauline. And congratulations on the guide, firstly. It's brilliant to read through and brilliant to be part of it also. So thank you, congratulations on that. And the panel is so amazing to hear everyone's stories and just insights about sustainability. So just to answer your question, my journey to the menstrual cup began when I was working with government schools in the slums of Mumbai. So I saw that there were girls who were not coming to school often. And when we went back to their community, it turns out it was because they didn't have access to sanitary products. Also, there was a lack of knowledge around their own bodies. So that was one part of it. And the second part of it was while I was working in these slum communities, there was just the amount of garbage. I was working in this area called dumping ground, which is basically this huge chunk of land where people are just dumping their waste. And people are living within those piles of waste that are coming from our own houses. So that made me sort of reflect on my own habits, and my experiences with the problem of menstruation kept sort of that thought in my head. And when I came across the menstrual cup, which is a couple of years after that experience, I bought a menstrual cup and I kept it with me, and I didn't use it for 3 to 4 months. And there were a couple of reasons for that, right? There was a lack of knowledge in terms of using the menstrual cup. People weren't talking about it too much. It's a it's a fairly new product. We don't really understand how it works. And the second part was the fear around insertion. So how the menstrual cup works is you have to insert it inside your vagina, where it pops open and collects the blood instead of the pad which absorbs the blood and it's outside your body. So that act of insertion was what created that fear and the entire conditioning around our bodies. We don't talk about our vagina. Women don't explore and menstruators don't explore their own bodies. So all this led to this fear, which obstructed my switch to the menstrual cup, and which I also hear from a lot of women and menstruators that I speak to. So once I was able to get over that fear, talking to a lot of friends, watching a lot of videos around the menstrual cup, I just realized it's so simple, right? It takes like 2 seconds to insert it, and once it's in, it just you have an easy period for 10 to 12 hours. And that cup, you can reuse it for 5 to 8 years. So all these advantages, plus the fact that once I got used to it, it was just like such a pleasure to just be on your period, right? Like explore your body. That led us to True Cup. And I think for other people to switch to it, I'm like a proponent of women and menstruators switching to the menstrual cup because of the waste that you can reduce and obviously the comfort that you experience with the cup, and you're avoiding synthetics and plastics, using the plastic disposable pad that generally women use and menstruators use. So I realized that individual action is very, very, very important, but organizations also need to step up and do their job in pushing individuals onto their journey and sort of supporting them. And I'm also involved with another initiative called Build 3, where we support early stage startups in just building sustainable related startups and ideas by providing them expertise, funding, as well as a network like this, right? So this dual work of, providing the menstrual cup as well as supporting other early stage enterprises in the sustainability space, I feel like that would take us to that journey for just reusable products all across the space.
Thank you so much, Alakshi. And I have been using one of your True Cups for a couple of years myself and love the product. There are more, of course, brands throughout India that can provide you that, but True Cup is a beautiful brand, very colorful with a lot of great advice. There you go. Alakshi, don't hesitate to drop maybe the link to the website where they not only maybe can buy a True Cup, but also probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but find some advice on how to go about it.
Yes, yeah? Questions and just videos you get on your journey with that.
Great. So you can drop it in the chat for everyone. That would be great. Thank you so much, Alakshi, for being with us today. Thank you for enriching the session in such a beautiful way. Moving on to our last, but not the least, speaker, Nirit, my dear friend, are you here?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Nirit. I'm going to introduce quickly, and then, as usual, I can't wait to hear from you. You're probably one of the, the most passionate speakers about environment that I know, and I'm always very excited to hear from you. Some of you may know Nirit already. He is popularly known as Infant Wild, and he's a wildlife conservationist, environmental changemaker, and one of the youngest conservation speakers across the world. We actually had our first interaction in the context of Techno India, when he came to Kolkata and gave a brilliant presentation to our students, which was very eye-opening for them. It was a couple of years ago already. He quit his corporate job to pursue his passion for wildlife and environment conservation, and in the process founded the Nirit Data Project, Environmental Extremist India, which has been responsible for carrying out high-profile unique conservation projects and trained more than 20,000 students across India. On these matters, my dear Nirit, a few years ago, as I already mentioned, you've quit your corporate job and you started embracing your calling about embracing a career towards the environment. Can you tell the audience about this leap that you took, and about how today you're spending your personal and professional time in this balance as meaningfully as possible? Over to you.
Okay, so before I answer your question, first of all, I took a look at the entire sustainable guide, and to be very honest, I found it very interesting. to watch, to read, because the process of learning about sustainability, wildlife, environment, the conservation, the process of learning seems to be very interesting when I went through the entire guide. And I hope it turns out to be a huge value deriving session, a value deriving piece of article to all the future readers who are going to go through the sustainable guide. Now, coming to the question that you have asked, of course, it was 3 years back when I was doing my corporate job. And of course, it was not only a corporate job, it was a very high paying corporate job in Bangalore. And the only time that I was happy was when the salary used to get credited to my bank account. That was the only point of time which made me happy, to be very honest. But I realized that so much of money that my parents put into my education, my school, my college, my engineering, I thought whatever education has been imparted to me, I have the power and I have the mindset to do something bigger than doing a 9-to-5 job. I have nothing against people who do 9-to-5 job, but whatever I wanted to do for wildlife and environment needed a lot of me time. And going by the 9-to-5 job lifestyle, it would have been very much impossible. So yeah, I took a leap without knowing what happens next. I went on to work as a waiter in a pub in Bangalore, because I never, told my parents that I quit my job. Because my dad initially was very excited when I got a job. And, oh, my son got a 10 lakh per annum job from engineering. And now my dad had to tell their students, their friends, his friends, that my son catches snakes. So yeah, it was a huge leap. But the first and foremost issue that I faced was money. Because at the end of the day, money is not the ultimate happiness. But when you have money, you have the power to make some important decisions in life, to be very honest. And yes, to be very honest, the first mentor that I had in my journey after quitting my job was Pauline ma'am. Because I still remember that day 3 years back when I pinged Pauline ma'am on LinkedIn. I was like, ma'am, I want to do something like this. And she has been one of my initial mentors, someone who has supported me blindly. And yes, the journey hasn't been smooth, because the biggest problem that I found in India is our education curriculum is not aligned towards conservation, is not aligned towards climate change, biodiversity conservation. And this is what I actually wanted to change, because young conservationists and environmentalists have that notion that when they're working towards biodiversity, when they're working towards climate, when they're working towards animal, they're working to save planet Earth. Evolution, my friends. I don't think that planet Earth needs our protection. By hook or by crook, the planet Earth is going to survive. But we are working hard to make sure that by the year 2050, the Earth remains a habitable place for we humans to survive. And that is what we are aiming to do. And the biggest loophole that I found in India is education, because a lot of people come and tell me, so how can I be a wildlife conservationist? How can I be an environmentalist? I don't think that you need a degree in the wildlife science background or the biology background in order to be a wildlife conservationist or an environmentalist. I believe that if you're someone who doesn't break away that small nest of a bird that has been built in your home, or if you're someone who cares to remove that small snake from the middle of the road, and if you're someone who refrains from using plastic bottles and plastic bags, my friend, feel free to call yourself a wildlife conservationist. Feel free to call yourself an environmentalist. It's our small acts of responsibility which matters the most. And the only way, to be very honest, planting trees is not enough. Planting trees is not enough. A lot of field activities that are happening are not enough. Because what is the point of doing a lot of field activities when the upcoming generation is again going to come up and destroy them? I believe one of the most critical and important aspects towards conservation, climate change, and biodiversity conservation as a whole is educating the youth. Because I will end with one particular point. It was 3 years back when I realized through a friend of mine on Instagram that the meat industry is the second biggest contributor to global warming and climate change. Nobody taught me this in my school life. Nobody taught me this in my college life. I'm not a vegan myself, but my meat consumption in the past 2 years have decreased by almost 90%, because being a half Bengali and a half Gujarati, fish is something that runs through our blood. So of course, it's very hard to change the diet overnight. But yes, to end my speech, I just want to say that it's very important to educate the youth, just the way the vision with which the Sustainable Guide has come up. And I hope it turns out to be a visionary article for all the future readers who are going to go through it. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Nirit, for again another inspiring speech. Thank you so much. We are over time, but we didn't mention it because we were just having such a great session with all of the speakers that, you know, no matter the time when such important messages are being spread, are being shared, are being discussed. And I am French enough to tell you that I care about punctuality, but tonight I probably don't for this reason. So thank you so much to all of our speakers for your time. We are open for a couple of questions before vote of thanks and finishing. We'll take maybe another 5 minutes together. Probel, is there something you want to say?
No, that's about it.
All good. So we had a couple of questions in the chat. Some of them, if not most of them, have already been answered. One of them maybe stuck out, which was not very well. Do we still have Mr. Sen on the call or not? Can't seem to see in the panel or not. Maybe not. Okay, there's one general question that kind of stuck in my mind, which was about, you know, now we have the guide. This is great. Some of us may go through it. All of us should go through it. To all of our speakers, how is it that you go beyond that? How is it that you go from the reading to action and to sustaining this action in your daily lives? I think this is part of the challenge here. You know, how to move towards the first challenge of building new habits. Really, is any one of the speakers would like to take this one? Maybe just one key question, which is a very, very important question, and then we will close the session. Any one of you? Any advice?
So I think I will ask Silesh to basically answer this question.
All right, let us go.
Yeah, I said, you know, culture is malleable, and we have always changed over time. And as COVID-19 and our response to COVID-19 has shown, we are capable of making enormous changes in very quick time. And so this is why I say that, you know, we are going to change because this is what the environment is calling us to do. And we are an intelligent species. So I have total faith that humanity will transform.
Thank you, Silesh. I saw that you responded to this question from, I think from Abhinav, about the fact that the Bengali culture was very much a meat-eating, fish-eating culture. Do you want to address this point verbally directly, especially because this is it's true, it's very much anchored into the culture here.
Yes, but our culture is also has tremendous compassion for animals, tremendous, you know, I mean, we treat animals as our relatives, and we've always done that in our culture. And now that we know that our animals are dying in front of our eyes, and their population is, wild animal population is plummeting around the world, and it's because of our consumption of meat and dairy and eggs and fish, it's incumbent upon us to make that step, because it's not okay to just, you know, try to conserve animals over there while we are killing them over here. You know, we need to do both.
Thank you.
So I think that, you know, we will have vegan versions of this to start with. We have vegan versions. I mean, if you go to Ubuntu Community Cafe in Calcutta, you'll get amazing food, amazing vegan food.
Have you been able to visit yet?
Yes, absolutely. I stayed there.
Oh, very nice. Yes.
Oh, great.
Super. They're doing amazing work indeed. Thank you so much, Silesh. Maybe there's a question directed to Nirit, which was also very, very related to this one question on, I want to become a wildlife conservationist. Where do I start? Try to make it broad for everyone, Nirit, to get the gist of it.
To start, see, to being a if you want to be a wildlife conservationist, it doesn't mean that you have to deal with animals. You have to deal with snakes or birds or tigers or lions. Wildlife conservation also includes you taking care of all the plastic waste across the country, across the world, right? So in order to be a wildlife conservationist or an environmentalist, I don't find much difference between both. But in order to be a wildlife conservation and environmentalist, there are two aspects. Number one, knowledge. Knowledge, which is all available on the internet, on Google, because without knowledge, you can't move forward. And second, I believe, is charity begins at home. Charity begins at home, because you are creating content, you are preaching people that do this, do that, but in the end, you are not following it yourself. I'll just state a small example. There was a friend of mine who used to have that bio on his Instagram profile as environmentalist, sustainable warrior. And he used to scold people, you're not a vegan, you're using plastic bag. So one day we met in Goa. So when I was in Goa for almost 2 years, we met in Goa and we decided to have a coconut water together. And guess what? I saw him drinking coconut water like a kid, using a straw, right? When I drink coconut water, I directly pour the coconut on my mouth and I drink it. I don't need a plastic straw. I'm not a kid, right? So whether you want to become a wildlife conservation or environmentalist, number one, knowledge. Every knowledge you want is there on internet. You just need to search, you need to learn, you need to unlearn, and again, you need to learn. Second, charity begins at home. And third, networking. Because if I take my example, being an engineer, not from a wildlife science background, I faced a lot of difficulties. But the only way that I have been able to move forward with my dream, my vision, is I've been able to network with people, like-minded people from this particular niche. Right? So it's very important for you to network with quality people. Stop wasting your time over the social media platform searching for a hot girl or a hot guy. You need to start searching for people with whom you can network. And that is very much important. So take a due leverage of LinkedIn. Instagram, Facebook, keep it away. Be active on Twitter, be active on LinkedIn, and network with quality, like-minded people. Because competition will not take you far. Collaborations are going to take you far. And that is very important.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nirid. Thank you to make it so concrete.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that feedback.
I have one last question, and I think we'll have to stop after this. I'm going to, I saw one of the questions, the last question that was asked in the Q&A box. I'm just going to transform that question a little bit to broaden it a little, and maybe ask it to Vani D if she is still around. Yes, I can see you. There's a question about the pressure exerted on resources, especially in an urban context. It's true that when we are born in a city, we're raised up in a city, and we live 100% of our time in the city, then maybe our connection to the resources available in the nature and our connection to nature itself is a little distorted or difficult, right? Vanidi, you're working with nature from your home. Probably you'd have a few insights to tell us about how do we reconnect or keep our connection true to our natural resources from our home, right? And how we can manage the resources within the urban landscape to keep this connection with nature quite authentic. Vanidi, are you with us? Yes.
I'm so sorry. I had the cooker going on, so it was whistling, so I didn't hear your question. I'm in the kitchen. Yeah, tell me, what was the question like?
Question is, for especially for urban populations who are born in cities and raised up and live in cities, it's difficult to connect with natural resources and nature. How do you keep the connection true, even from a
It's just to create awareness. That's it. You know, you talk about it. You talk about your practices. You proudly talk about it. It's not just, you know, you're talking about something that you're not doing. It's not a book knowledge. It's about being a practitioner who is putting it out there relentlessly. I have been talking about trash for the past 12 years and I don't tire of it. I talk about how important it is, what is the impact of what your trash does, how we need to be very careful on our consumption. So I think social media has been one great platform for me, which has propelled the kind of awareness around. If I say I have an Instagram of 180,000 people following me, that by just talking trash. So it is about composting, about the connect to nature, about, you know, everything. So I think we have great tools around which we can use very effectively. And I prove that at 60 years, I'm able to use it. And why not the youth? I know we all can push it forward.
Thank you, Vanity. I think I'll remember this line. I have 180,000 followers just talking about trash.
Yes,
I think that's
yes.
the quote of the day. The quote of the day.
And Pauline, so surprisingly, it reminds us that we always keep saying content is king, but actually sometimes it is not. It is the passion with which you pursue the content, which is more important.
Absolutely, and the resilience and the consistency and the
Absolutely,
making
and
it
that's
happen.
what I said. The passion and that you exhibit for the work that you do. Actually, it comes across your body language as well.
Thank you so much, Probal.
Thank you,
Vanity.
thank you so much, Vanity.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you. We have come to the end of this wonderful session. I can't believe how inspiring it was. I'm going to give the mic to Lata for the vote of thanks. Over to you, Lata.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, everyone. Okay. The session no session ends without a vote of thanks. And today I've been given this opportunity to voice the vote of thanks. Of course, the first and foremost, the team that has brought this sustainable guide to the out front, all of us, WISE, TurnItGreen, and Techno India University, without which this sustainable guide would not have been possible. The team of WISE, TurnItGreen, and Techno India goes like this: Lata, Propal, Sudarshan, Pauline, Aparupa, Ankit, Inakshi, Cecil, Tuhin. Thank you so much to all of you for putting in the effort to bring this guide forward. Of course, we cannot forget ArcFrame, Kasturi from ArcFrame, to bring the videos so beautifully edited. And Romit Sen for the design. I fell for the design, absolutely so beautiful and so contemporary. The colors and designs are absolutely on dot. And what can I say about our speakers today? Mrs. Roy Chaudhary, Mr. Debashish Sen, BBD, Alakshita Mar, Sushil Reddy, Dr. Silesh Rao, Nirit Datta, Vani Di. I mean, actually, I am her follower, and I learned composting by seeing her videos. Thank you, Vani, for converting me into a zero waste life person and a minimalist person, and someone who's finding the passion in composting from you. And of course, Ripu Daman Devli. And for the guide contribution, feedback, and suggestions, we thank Dr. Nayan Mitra of Sustainable Advancement, Priyanka Mandal of Plan Earth, Prima Banerjee of Center for Environment Education, Abhinav Vajpayee from Ubuntu, Hansraj Agarwal, Riya Bhandari, Sajal Kanti Kayal, Sujata Chatterjee, Meghna Nayak, Saikat Basu, Payal Rastogi, for their feedback, suggestions, and contributions to put this guide together. It's a very, very combined effort of each and everyone that I've mentioned. And if I've missed out on anyone, please shoot me.
Thank you so much, Lata. I think it was quite complete. I just wanted to highlight the fact that indeed we have made this guide with comments and feedback and suggestions from the community, most of which
may I just add that we have
yes.
I have not thanked the audience for sparing their time.
Absolutely.
Without the audience, no program is complete. And without you, we would not have been able to do this program. Thank you so much for sparing your time. We've gone beyond 7 p.m. And thank you for staying on and listening to us. And I hope you find this sustainable guide as important to our lives as we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lata. And one last message here. Do not hesitate to make this guide your own. You can download it. You can visualize it online. You can share it with your friends at school. You can use it as a resource. If you're a teacher, do not hesitate to keep it with you, no matter the kind of use that you want to make it. There will be future editions with probably different add-ons. Most of the organizations here for this edition are Kolkata-based or active in Kolkata, although pan-India. We may also come up with different editions beyond Kolkata in the future. So we will keep you posted on this. And thank you to all of these beautiful organizations that you can see on the slide now, who are part of the sustainability space in India and who make it a reality on a daily basis. So congratulations to all of you for the wonderful work on this. Probal, for the last few words from you, you can close it.
I think I would actually like to congratulate each and every speaker. But my learning, if you really ask me, my learning from this particular session myself is that three-letter word AMG. So it was a huge learning, and thanks to Sushil for that. And I'm sure that each one of us, we will, have some takeaway from this particular session. And the important thing is to retain that and convert it into actionables so that we can all contribute towards creating a much cleaner, safer, and a greener planet. And with that, I would like to thank each and every one of you, all the viewers, our esteemed guests, and all the eminent speakers that who have joined us for the Sustainable Guide. Thanks to all of you, and a very good evening.
Happy World Environmental Day. Take care.